Hello and welcome to the Martial Arts Teaching Tactics Podcast. I'm Chris Kent, and I'm joining Chris Bean. Mr. Bean?
Hello, sir.
Today we're going to be talking about what to do when you have missing students. So you notice some students have made it to class, some students haven't been showing up. What do we do then? But let's start a little bit before that, actually. Let's start on a good way to prevent that from happening if you can, or a good method to keep your students engaged, keep them involved so that you don't end up missing them throughout their training and throughout your program. So something that we do here at our studio is what we call a good job card, a good job card. So good job cards are a great motivational tool for your school. When you have a student who's performing particularly well, not only can you give them praise on the floor, but also send them a handwritten postcard to let them know how good they did. This is an unbelievably easy tool that your entire staff can use to help keep the students engaged. If you have someone who is struggling, you can send them a postcard to offer extra encouragement. Just think about the last time you received mail from someone and then that you weren't expecting. You know, it wasn't a bill, it wasn't an ad for something, but it was genuine mail that you got from someone. Just imagine and remember how excited you were and how cool that was to get that letter in the mail. Well, everyone loves getting handwritten notes and handwritten postcards in the mail, especially one that is letting them know how awesome they are doing. So that's something we implement, something we use to help encourage and motivate our students, but also to stay connected to them because, you know, the next time that person is going to come in, more often than not, they're going to mention the postcards you sent them. You'll have a quick interaction with them, and that strengthens the relationship you have with that student. And again, the idea is to keep them motivated and to keep them involved and to reassure them or remind them of the good work that they're doing. That way they don't end up missing a class, or it's not easy for them to say, oh, well, I don't want to go today, because they really enjoy being around you and receiving the praise for what they do. And you really make them feel special because you took the time to sit down and by hand write a little note of encouragement to them and then send it in the mail, you know. And as far as cost effectiveness, I mean, how much does a postcard stamp cost? I don't even know. That's how cheap it is, because it's little consequence, you know. You print up a whole bunch of postcards, one-time payment there, and then every once in a while you got to buy the stamps for it. Well, you know, take 30 seconds out of your day, write a quick note, address it, put a stamp on it, send it in the mail. It's a very small thing that you can do. It's going to have a huge impact on your relationship with the student. And again, not entirely with the idea of maintaining them. You also want to use it as a tool of praise and connection building. But hopefully those small interactions like that, those handcrafted moments of connection, make a difference in that student and help to shine a positive light on your program and your school, making it somewhere they want to be and something they want to continue to come back to. So Good Job Cards is a small thing. It doesn't take a lot of time. That's something you can do and use to really make a special connection. And then, like we said earlier, your whole staff can do it. So think about, you got 4 people on staff. If those 4 people each write 2 letters a night, that's 8 students you just covered in one night. So, within the span of a quarter, you should be more than able to get through all of your students, and every single person's getting that handwritten note at some point in time, offering that encouragement and building that relationship. And again, just a small thing to help hopefully deter them or prevent them from not finding your school special and deciding to replace it with something else or just stop coming altogether.
Now, of course, as you're going through and making these and writing these postcards to your students, be genuine as you're doing that. And of course, this should go without saying, but make sure that whoever that instructor is that's writing that postcard did have a lesson or has a class. Somehow they are influencing that student. Don't have, Mr. So-and-so write Johnny a card just because Johnny isn't doing so great, but they never interact and they don't know who each other are. Make sure that whoever that instructor is writing a card to is somebody they worked with that night, or at the very least that week. And then, of course, as you're going through and making these postcards, have a list of students' names that you're crossing off or checking off as you go. That way, your top, cool, best students aren't getting, 4 or 5 postcards, a month or something just because they're so good, and you're leaving the people at the bottom of the list out. And so make a list of all your students, and as they get a postcard for that quarter or that belt cycle or whatever it is, cross their name off. That way they're done, and then that gives your team, your students, or your teaching staff other options, more variability as they're writing those cards to those students.
And I guess it doesn't have to stop at a good job card either. If you know someone has a graduation or a special event or a birthday or whatever, and you have the option to send them a postcard, again, do it, because you're going to build that relationship, and it's going to help tie that positive outlook to your studio, to you, and then again develop that relationship with them as well.
Yeah, so moving on to the next step. So the good job cards are a great way to keep your students motivated and continue to come back to your classes. But from time to time, we know people get sick, they miss class, right? And so how do we know, what do we do for that, right? These would be a weekly task that you would go through your system, your attendance tracker, and see who wasn't there for that week. And then either realize that, hey, they were actually here, they forgot to sign in for class, and in that case, you would let them know that. Or you knew they were going to be on vacation, so you can say, hey, make sure, I know you guys are on vacation, but when you get back, make sure you set up some private lessons so we can get Matthew caught up on his information. If, you call him and say, hey, Johnny is sick this week, okay, great, no problem, I hope he feels better. Well, I guess not okay, great, but okay, thanks for letting us know. I hope you and your family feel better. Just make sure when you guys come back in, we get that private lesson set up, that way no information is missed, and he can come back to class and be right where everybody else is. But having that on a weekly basis, a continual effort will have to be made to check in on those students that for whatever reason didn't make it to your class. And of course, there's a myriad of different reasons that somebody could miss a class, but it's very important for us, the employees at your school, to make sure to reach out to those students, because it's very easy to get it out of the habit of coming to class, right? They miss 1 or 2 classes. It's just easier to not come to class. And that's way easier than it is to get in the car, get dressed, do whatever you got to do in order to make it into class. And so we just want to make sure that we are continually reaching out to those people that, for whatever reason, didn't make it to class. Now, we've talked on a number of different podcasts before about keeping attendance. So if you don't keep attendance, this is another, I would say, relatively huge reason to keep attendance, because, again, it's so easy for those students to miss class once or twice, and then you never see them again because they lost the habit, right? Was it in their routine to get ready and come to your class, right? So make sure that you're reaching out to those students, and maybe your school is small enough that when your 4th person isn't in class that day, right? But if you have a bigger school, or as your school continues to grow, make sure you're on the phone calling those people up, just so that you're in contact with them and you know what's going on and why they missed the class, and get those lessons set up. That way, when they do come back, they're on track where they need to be at. And a simple phone call, would be an easy way to accomplish this, right? You have everybody on your list. You have your office personnel on Friday. They call on everybody that's on the list. And maybe the first week it's a phone call. Maybe the next week it's a text message, or vice versa. And you have kind of a tiered process, And if you notice that somebody's missed class for 3 weeks in a row, I mean, not that you're going to go to their house and knock on their door, but I mean, maybe you kind of step up your game a little bit as far as your contact methods, and try to really get in contact with them. Maybe somebody's sick, or something bad happened, or whatever it is, but you want to kind of make sure that you're there to say sorry, or I feel bad that happened. My condolences, whatever it is that happened, but then also let them know that hey, when everything is all squared away, when everything's back to normal or normal-ish, come on back. We'll get you set up on some lessons. That way you can go back to class and be right where you are need to be at, and then you're not going to miss a belt test or anything like that.
Just like the good job card, the postcard, think about the personal touch and how good it feels when you get a call from your karate studio that they missed you, or they noticed you weren't there. really does, make you feel special, or in, those cases where something did go wrong or they were sick, just that word of encouragement of, hey, I hope things get better soon, or I hope you get better soon, get well. Again, just that small touch it or check in with them does a lot to make them feel included and feel special, that you notice they weren't there, and you care about them and you miss them and you want them to come back and train. So not only is it good for you to get your students coming back and tracking your attendance and be on top of those things, but a lot of this comes back to strengthening or developing or reinforcing the relationship you've already made with them, which we in previous podcasts have talked about is very important when you're teaching. Helps you to teach your students, and not to say you don't care about them, because I think if you don't care about your students, there's something wrong. That's another discussion. But it's not just about getting them back in class. We generally want to make sure they're okay, and then we also want them to come back to class too. So this isn't entirely coming from a perspective of, hey, find out what's wrong to get them back in class so they can train. That's part of it, but also we do have their best interest in mind, and we do want to be sympathetic and caring to what's happening in their lives.
Now, the next step, right? So we talked about, how to help keep your students motivated. And then if you have absent students or vacation or sick or something, a process to kind of take care of, handle that situation. But now you have somebody who has quit for, whatever the reason is. They've stopped, they discontinued the training with you. Having some sort of reactivation sequence kind of automatically set up in place so that, they cancel on this day, and X number of days or months or weeks or whatever after that, boom, they get sent some sort of letter in the mail or an email or a phone call or something like that, just to touch base with them. See how, whatever efforts they're doing in baseball or soccer, whatever it is, check in, see how they're doing, right? Say, hey, remember, we're still here, and I know you stopped because of this. How's that going? Oh, good. Yeah. Hey, if you wanted to come back, we can get you some lessons, set up, and we'll get you kind of start off, back where you were before, if that's something you're still interested in, right? Yeah. I don't know if this has happened to you, but a gym membership. You go to the gym, you're lifting weights or working out or whatever at a regular gym. They will, if you stop, they will reach out to you, 6 months, a year later, and say, hey, we miss seeing you. Hey, remember those goals you had when you started with us? How are you doing reaching those? And just the kind of, oh yeah, hey, I remember that was still there. I liked doing that for whatever the reason is, just to have that idea pop back in their mind, right? And sometimes that's all it takes. And while this is a little bit, or could be a little bit of a lengthy process to set up and get set to where all the strings are pulled at the right time and the buttons get pushed at the right time or whatever it is, but if you get one student to come back and train with you after 6 months or a year off, then that, in my opinion, that effort that it took to set up this process was worth it. Right? If you get one person to come back and train with you, maybe they can't train with you, they get their black belt, they get their next black belt, or maybe they're only there for a couple of months and then they have to stop again for whatever that sports season is. To continue that effort of growing that relationship and growing the student and the benefits, of course, that that you offer at your school, I believe that time spent setting up the automation or the whatever the sequence is was worth it. Now, of course, as you're building this, there are a couple questions you'll want to answer. How many times do you want to reach out to this person? How many times is too much before it's like, okay, that's enough, guy or gal or whatever. After you reach out to them one time, how long in between that next contact should it be? Or how long do you want to wait after the first touch, quote unquote, the first contact? Do you want to make it for the second one? And then with those, how long after the student stops do you want to contact them? Do you want to make it 3 months, 6 months, a year? How long? What's that time frame for you? And of course, these are all different questions, or you'll have all different answers to these questions. You'll have to answer yourself based on you and your program, and even potentially the clientele or the students that you have. For us, 6 months is that window, right? So at 6 months, they get an email. And I'll read read over the email in just a moment. But at 6 months is when they get the email that kind of says, hey, we're reaching out. Hey, we're still here, right? And of course, after that, then potentially along with that email, just because you don't know if they, not everybody checks their email. They may have blocked your email for whatever reason. So with that email, we also do a text message, say, hey, we just sent you a text message, and it's actually a congratulatory text message, which will be explained in just a minute as I read the email. But those two things kind of happen at the same time, just to say, hey, we just sent you an email, go check your email, read over the email, just because, again, sometimes people need that notification. I mean, I don't know about you, how long it takes you to read or check your emails, but some people need that extra push to actually go into their email inbox and open things. So the email that we send them goes like this. It says, congratulations on earning your new black belt. All of the hard work, diligent practice, and classes you've taken led you to reaching this goal. Now that you've accomplished this huge milestone, what will you do next? Sorry, ... This is the email that I would be sending you had you not discontinued your training with us. There is some good news, though. It's not too late. You can come back and pick up right where you left off. No need to start over from the beginning. You've already worked so hard to reach the rank that you did. Why stop there? Here's what I'd like to give you. 1 month free. 4 free 15-minute one-on-one lessons to get you back on track and feeling comfortable with your information. I'll waive the normal $100 registration fee, and I'll also honor your monthly tuition rate that you left at. If you need, I will also give you a brand new uniform and belt free of charge. If you are interested in reaching your goals, click the link below to get set up. And so that's the email that goes out to them. Now, yes, that is potentially a little bit forward, a little bit much by saying congratulations on earning your next black belt or your new black belt. But really, what I wanted there was a tagline, an introduction that would be catchy enough or involved enough to get them to continue reading. Right? The email subject line says congratulations on earning your new black belt. Wait, huh? What? My new black belt? Let me read that. Right? Just to get them to actually open that in their inbox. And then they read that first paragraph and they're thinking, huh? What? Oh, that could have been me, right? I was pretty close to getting my black belt. Why, and then that gets them to have those feelings again, to think about, why did I start? Why did I quit? Why I was so close already. Why not just go back and I can pick up where I left off at? That would be great. And then they, that just to further that experience for them, and really having that, congratulations on earning your new black belt. That whole thing, again, it's just about getting them to be pulled in and read the email so they can actually get to the information. Maybe a bit confused as they're reading it or not quite understanding, but again, just to get them to see, oh yeah, right, I actually wasn't too far away, and if I hadn't quit when I did, I would be at my black belt already. Wow, okay. And so again, and if they're a green belt when they quit, no, it isn't 6 months until they get black belt. And depending on where they are across the board, of course, that number is different. But at 6 months, they get this one, right? And again, the way that this is worded, at least for us, is this can go to somebody who already is a black belt, or somebody that was close to black belt, or somebody that wasn't necessarily close to black belt, because it says your new black belt, your next black belt. Right? So it doesn't matter if they already were a black belt or they weren't a black belt. That still works. It still functions that way. And again, all that is it says congratulations on earning your new black belt. That's the subject line. And then, of course, in the text message that goes out with this, it says, hey, we just sent you a congratulations email. Make sure you go in and check your inbox to read over that. Right? And so, congratulations email. What's that about? They go, oh, congratulations on my new black belt. What? Huh? And again, just a maybe potentially an out of the box kind of email that hopefully will get them to actually open the email to read over the information that's in it. Now, of course, you can choose to do a, hey, we miss seeing you, or something along the lines of that does a little bit more more basic and easy, again, similar to what perhaps like a gym, like a weightlifting or a type gym would. I mean, I say gym. Is that how you would describe gym? Not person named Jim, but okay.
I know some people refer to karate studios as gyms. So
yes, right.
I think the distinction is important. Yeah.
Right. So anyways, that would be a way. Now, if you already have a reactivation sequence, awesome. Good job. Hopefully that is working well for you. And again, if you get 2% that quit from you that come back, I think the time and the effort it took to set that up, which is beneficial, right? You've made your money back, that time spent to do it, and you got to further that relationship with the student and grow them further as a person because of your program. And if they just quit, they stopped, they never came back, there's no communication between you and them ever again, that wouldn't have ever happened, right? But because you took the time to set up, you took a week, however long it took you to actually build the program, sent it out, you hit go, turned it on, whatever you had to do, and then you got 2 people back out of 100. Great, good job. Good for you, and good for those students. They got to come back to you and continue learning from you, right? They already have the relationship there, and that's just you can then further that relationship, further that connection for them, and then also get them to continue their training, which of course is hugely beneficial for them wherever they are in life. Now, of course, with the reactivation sequence, there is one extra step that I believe that needs to happen. We've talked, I think it was the last podcast, about cancellations, no to enrollments and cancellations. From time to time, you'll have those people that quit or cancel because of a disagreement, or potentially they were a toxic family, which we potentially will go into a podcast about toxic families in the future, but you can imagine what that would be like. People that you don't really want to come back to your school because of a disagreement or because of the type of people they are, whatever it is. So you would want to put in an extra step, an exclusion program, an exclusion to the program rather, that not absolutely everybody who quits gets this reactivation sequence. Because again, you do have those very few percentage of people that stop because of whatever reason, and it was a disagreement or whatever it is, and you don't want to reach out to them and make it worse for whatever reason by contacting them again. Or you have those people that you had to sever ties with because of the influence they had on potentially on the other students, the staff, the school, in general, and so you would want those people to be getting this sequence, right? So you want to have some sort of a exclusion to the program, and maybe that's an extra tag or an extra checkbox that they get or something like that, just so that you know that they're not going to be set up on this sequence when the time comes. Mashkan, do you have anything to add to missing students?
No, sir. I think the most important thing is to have a system in place to reach out to them and contact them. Don't just let it slide by, even if you're a school of 500 or you're a school of 5. Be making that connection with them, finding out what's going on, and getting them back into class. But of course, overall, showing that you care about them and actually caring about them and their lives and what happens. And a lot of stuff you talked about was just creative ways to remind them that you're there, or get them back into the program, or remind them of the goals they had, or get back into training to better themselves for many different reasons. So, I think the most important thing is just don't forget about them. It's not out of sight, out of mind. There's still a potential for you to salvage the relationship and get them back in, not only for your business, but also for them to be able to continue to reap the benefits of martial arts. So, highly encourage, if you haven't already, develop a system to deal with these things. Current students, find out why they missed a class. Instill that extra value in your program by sending them their postcards to help them come to class. And then, if you happen to lose them, then find out ways to bring them back, or remind them you're still there, and offer them, I don't want to say a deal, but offer them something to get them back in the door, and remind them of why they started your program in the first place.
Yeah, I guess something we didn't discuss, but with the missing in action, that we call the MIAs, missing in action. Those are the Friday night calls that we do for the students that didn't make it to class that week. Build into your program the sort of responsibility of the students or the parents of the students to contact you and say, hey, Johnny isn't going to be there because he's sick today. Okay, great. And then you notate that in your system so that you know either to call on Friday to check in and see how he's doing, or not to call them because you know that he's sick, right? So either way. And then we talked about sending postcards and stuff. If somebody says, hey, I'm sick, I can't make it to class. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. We'll catch up next week. Hopefully you'll feel better. Send them a postcard, a get well soon postcard, right? If you have families that bring you and your staff, cookies for Christmas or something like that, have a thank you card that you send out to them, right? Those like you said, how did you word it? The handcrafted moments. I think that's what he said. Handcrafted moments. I like that. The handcrafted moments. The more handcrafted moments that you can set up and give to your students, the better. That is direct. A beautiful way to directly connect with them. Take the time, write something out by hand, put a stamp in it, and send it snail mail. Right? That will do a lot to grow the connection with them. Birthday cards, right? Handwritten birthday card sent to them, right? And again, just furthering that connection with your students will make the things that you do in class, the things that you say to them, the interactions you have, so much more beneficial, so much more impactful because of the connection that you have built with your students.
As always, we'd love to hear what you thought about the episode or different tactics and methods that you use to reach out to your missing students or bring people back into your program. So you can find us on the socials. We're on Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. On all those platforms, you can find us at MA Teaching Tactics, MA for Martial Arts Teaching Tactics. Again, that's MA Teaching Tactics. Until next time, I'm Chris Kent.
And I'm Chris Bean.